الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله.
Regarding the phrase 7 people must participate, look, whether it is a cow or a camel, the participation of exactly 7 people is not mandatory for the sacrifice to be valid. The actual rule is that no more than 7 people can join. That is what it truly means, which is that in one cow, more than 7 people simply cannot participate in the sacrifice. There can be 7 people participating and there can also be fewer than 7 involved. One single man can offer a whole cow as a sacrifice on his own behalf if he wishes, entirely on his own. 2 people together can also share half a cow each for their sacrifice. Now, what people often do is when 2 men share a single cow, one takes 4 shares, then the other takes 3 shares. This is also allowed, but there is no need for such formality. When 2 people share a single cow, let it be half for one and half for the other person who is sharing it with you. Now, if 3 people share a cow or a camel, they go through this formality. Give 3 shares to one, 2 to another, and 2 to the third, complicating it like that. That is fine too, but it is also perfectly fine if there are 3 people who want to be equal, 1/3 for each. This is also how a cow can be shared easily, can be shared correctly. 7 means no more than 7 can participate. Fewer than 7 can join the sacrifice, which applies to both a cow and a camel according to the rules. Is it permissible to give the butcher some of the sacrificial meat as his payment? No, it is absolutely not permissible. You must pay the butcher his money separately. Any part of the animal, even if it is just the rope or even the hide itself, it cannot be given to the butcher as payment for the sacrifice. You must ensure he is paid with actual money from your own pocket. How should those people living abroad perform their sacrifice in Pakistan? When those living abroad arrange for their sacrifice to be done in Pakistan specifically, or those in Pakistan perform it in another country, it must be the time of Eid in both locations. Understand this well. Now, if Eid is a day earlier in Saudi Arabia and a day later where you are, and you had your sacrifice done in Saudi Arabia while you were there or sent money from here, even though here the days of Eid haven't even begun yet, or if people perform sacrifice here a day early before Eid starts here, that's why generally when sacrificing in another country, it's done on the second day of Eid there so that it is the day of Eid in both locations. Now, if someone failed to perform the sacrifice despite it being obligatory upon them due to their wealth or status during the days, then what is the ruling? Look, if someone missed the sacrifice when it was mandatory for them and they still didn't perform it, the Sharia ruling regarding this situation is clear that he can no longer perform the sacrifice. Now, he must give the price of an animal in charity, meaning a medium-sized goat or sheep. He must donate the value of a medium-grade animal to the poor. He cannot make up for it now by slaughtering an animal. He must give the price as charity. Here is a special message for those who perform the sacrifice but do not eat the meat themselves. It is very important to understand why eating the meat is also a part of it. Look, while the main purpose of sacrifice is to revive the sunnah of the Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, there is also another very important aspect to consider regarding this day. It is also to celebrate the feast and the hospitality that Allah has provided for us on this day of Eid. We should accept this gift with gratitude and joy, meaning Allah is the host and we are the guests. We must honor this relation. This is why, during the days of Eidul Adha and the following period of Tashriq, fasting for 4 days is strictly forbidden, meaning fasting on the 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th, the days of Tashriq, is completely prohibited for everyone, so that we do not appear to reject Allah's feast. If you sacrifice in other countries, do so, but you should also try to sacrifice at least some portion locally as well for yourself, so you can eat the sacrificial meat on Eid day and partake in the feast Allah has provided for us. To show indifference or to say that you don't care at all about this religious duty by saying we don't need meat, I've seen some homes where lentils and rice or chicken are cooked even on Eid day, is wrong. It is a form of ingratitude to Allah Almighty. In a sense, Allah has forbidden fasting because this is a feast of meat provided by Allah Almighty to all His servants so that they may celebrate together. It's just like someone inviting you for a meal on Monday or Tuesday and you turn up fasting. They would be offended, wouldn't they? Allah forbade fasting because these are days of eating and drinking, as the hadith says. So one should personally eat some of the sacrificial meat that they have offered. Therefore, one should ideally perform the sacrifice at their own home if possible. Can we sacrifice on the 4th day of Eid? No, we cannot. No Sahih Hadith proves the Prophet PBUH ever performed the sacrifice on the 4th day of the Eid festival or ordered it to be done. While contrarily, Sahih Hadith and reports from the Sahaba prove that the days of sacrifice are only 3. I recorded an audio statement with evidence on this many years ago. Hence, the strong and valid view is that the sacrifice is not valid on the 4th day at all. Now, even some Ali Hadith agree. Hafiz Zubair Alizai, their scholar, also held that sacrifice on the 4th day is not permissible. What exactly should be done with the hide of the sacrificial animal? There are specific rules regarding the skin or the hide of the animal. Either sell the animal hide and donate its entire price to the poor, or use the hide as it is for yourself. That is permissible according to the rules of the sacrifice. Just as you cannot sell the meat and keep the money for yourself, if it is sold, you must donate all the proceeds to charity. Otherwise, you can eat it yourself without any concern at all. Similarly, you can make use of the hide yourself. You can salt and dry the hide yourself, or process it into leather to make a jacket or anything else that you might need for your home or personal use during the winter or summer months. You can make a prayer mat. I once made one at home and it turned out great. It becomes a very nice and soft item that you can use for your daily prayers. Carpet-like item, so using it this way is permissible for you, but if you sell it to a trader, then you must give its price in charity to the poor. You will certainly have to do that. And you cannot give the sacrificial hide to the butcher as his wages. How much meat should be given to the poor people who are in serious need of food? It is better and more recommended that you distribute 1/3 of the meat among the poor people. But if your family is large and eating meat for you throughout the rest of the year is quite difficult due to financial constraints, then you should consider your own household first. Difficult? Then jurists have written that prioritizing your family comes first. Some have small children and they are poor people who need the nourishment to grow strong and stay healthy as well. They sacrifice an animal once a year with the sincere intention of sacrifice, so such people should feed their children this meat. That is considered much better for them. Meat that is better. But if you are wealthy and eat meat all year round, then you should eat some meat yourself anyway to follow the sunnah of the day, so that you do not avoid God's hospitality, participate in God's feast, but 1/3 of the meat is better than to be given away to those who are less fortunate than you are, to be distributed among the poor. Is sacrifice at night permissible? It is allowed at night too, but it is not considered the better option to choose. It is considered slightly disliked for two specific reasons. The first is that there is a risk that you might make a mistake. Nowadays, this risk is gone because of electric lights, but in olden times, the risk was that you might not be able to slaughter correctly in the dark of night. But the second point still applies today. Sacrifice is among the great symbols of Islam, and all such symbols are observed in the bright daylight. Consider Hajj, the stay at Arafah, Friday prayers and Eid prayers. These are all symbols of Islam, as is the Eid al-Adha sacrifice performed by us. That is why on the day of Eid, the Prophet PBUH would pray early so we could perform the sacrifice at the very start of the time on that first day. In the light of day, symbols of Islam are observed during the daytime, therefore it is certainly better anyway to do it then when everyone can see the religious act being performed, that the sacrifice is done during the day. If you sacrifice the next day or even the third day, do it in the daylight so that it is visible and performed correctly. How should the sacrificial meat be divided into 7 shares? This is a very important question that many people ask. So understand it well for your own practice. You see, when 7 people or 5, 6, 4 or even just 2 people share a sacrificial animal together as a group for the sake of the sacrifice in one animal, it is mandatory to divide the meat by weighing it. It must be perfectly equal with absolutely no difference at all between any of the shares given to the individual participants. There should be no discrepancy as it risks interest. If even a bit more meat goes to one side, meat is among usurious goods according to the rules of Shariah law that we follow. That excess will be deemed interest because distribution is essentially a transaction, as the meat is shared by all of the partners involved. We are selling our share to them and buying their share from them. As meat is a ribawi commodity, exact equality is essential to avoid interest. When we explain this, people say, we agree. If one gets a bit more or less, since we are content, what's the issue with usurious assets like meat? Consent is not the issue. Even if you agree, it's still not permissible. So when dividing the sacrificial animal's meat into 7 shares, weigh it exactly and equally. And if you wish to avoid this concern, there is a permissible way out, a simple strategy for you. That strategy is this. Look, when the animal is slaughtered, at the start, what you do is people usually take out the liver first. Divide the liver into 7 portions, add a piece to each of the meat piles, and set a small amount of liver aside as you do this. Then distribute that liver, and finally add a bit of liver to each of the 7 piles of meat you have made for the participants. Then any discrepancy is permissible. You can distribute by estimation, and weighing isn't required once a different item like liver or trotters is included in the share for the other person. Equality is not necessary. Scholars who understand interest-related issues will grasp this easily, but explaining it to the public is somewhat difficult. So because when items of different types are involved, liver is considered a different category from meat. So what you should do is follow this method specifically. Initially, divide the liver into 7 portions and add a bit of meat. Then divide the meat into 7 portions and add some liver to every single pile. It's that simple for you. Then you can also distribute by estimation, so do it that way. And if you aren't dividing liver into 7 parts, Add the 4 trotters to 4 shares to make them different from meat. And mix liver into the remaining 3 portions. This is also fine. In that case, equality is not mandatory. However, if you didn't do this, didn't mix liver or trotters and just made 7 piles of meat by estimation alone, then it is not permissible for anyone to eat it. Your sacrifice will be valid and the obligation met. But eating that meat will not be permissible for anyone due to the usury issue. Because any slight excess included there will fall under the ruling of usury and no specific piece of meat can be identified as the surplus. Rather, it has become indistinguishably mixed within it completely now. This specific issue is easily understood by scholars, but it is much harder to explain clearly to the common people. So you just do as I have told you and follow the instructions very carefully. When you divide a camel or cow into 7 shares, mix a little liver into every single share that you make to ensure that the meat is no longer being traded for meat. So you can avoid this complication. Then whether you weigh it or estimate it, that is entirely up to you and your partners. People often ask a question here. Brother, all members are in our house, all 7 partners live together. 1 share for dad, 1 for mom, and 1 for the husband too. 1 for the wife, the eldest son, the middle munni api. Names are like that now, elder sister, younger sister. So all 7 are sharing and living in one house together. Then there is actually no need for formal distribution at all when all 7 shares are kept in one freezer in the same house for the whole family to eat together as one single family unit. This becomes an issue for you where you have to divide it. Now, even if you have to distribute just 1 single share for a neighbor outside your family, you must follow this rule. Meaning 6 people are from that house and 1 is for the neighbors. You must make all 7 piles properly to take out that neighbor's share correctly. Then it's the same thing. You'll need to mix in a little liver so that there's an item of a different kind within that meat.